All right, thanks for joining me, everyone. Charles Moscowitz here. Monday through Friday, I'm doing this thing now, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, roughly for an hour or so, all depending on what's going on. And my guest is Amber May. Amber May is the host of The Amber May Show. She's a creator of the online education program Podcast Like a Pro, which teaches aspiring podcasters how to build a successful podcast. She's also a fellow Sun Devil. And Amber has a headline here from her publicist. Has the media been fair in the first 2 weeks of Trump's return to the White House? Before we go there, Amber, and thanks so much for joining me.
I'm so
Um,
excited to be here.
okay. I just want to talk a little bit about this incredible institution that you and I are both dabbling in, and that is podcasting.
Hmm.
I think that it's a very democratic institution in that really anyone now can host a podcast. All you need is a laptop, maybe invest in a good mic and a good camera, not expensive, and get a platform. And
Hmm.
you can invite people on, you can talk to them, see them, hear them, have it go live on your social network where it can be seen by all of your friends and colleagues and members of your network, and you can build a program. Do I have that right?
Absolutely right. I mean, when I first got into journalism, I was interning because when you're in journalism school, end up interning. And I ended up interning at the local Fox affiliate here in Phoenix.
Mhm.
And it wasn't even that long ago. It was like early 2000s. And the way they did broadcast then, there was no way you and I could do a show like we're doing now because the equipment and the technology just wasn't there. I mean, their editing back then was beta tape to beta tape. It wasn't even digital editing. The
Right.
digital editing just started becoming a thing back then. And they had one editing bay for the promotion side that was digital. But the news side was still beta tape to beta tape. So everything is just really rapidly changing in the last few years to now anyone can be a content creator. It's amazing.
Yes, I mean, back in the day, I mean, for a while I was doing talk radio in Greater Boston, where I live, and it was all very planned, and you had to be there at a certain time, and there's a whole office there with everybody kind of controlling everything, and it was sort of, yeah, there was definitely free speech in a way freer than we have it online. By the way, we'll get into that,
Yeah.
but it was still very curated. It was a different style of communicating. It wasn't. It was very kind of formal, and it was very limited in terms of there was just so many slots in any city or town that you would get in. Whereas now you could have millions of people, millions and millions of people doing programming and having influence. And before we go further, I want to your headline, which I think is quite provocative. Has the media been fair in the first 2 weeks of Trump? That in the old days, Trump would never have won re-election because he was being censored, including online,
Hmm.
but they were not able to completely suppress President Trump's message, and that's why he was elected. The media, I think they would acknowledge it pretty much, was viciously anti-Trump.
Hmm.
All of the mainstream media, even Fox News to a certain extent,
Hmm.
and they just really like dismissed him and attacked him, but it didn't work. And I think the reason it didn't work was because of people like yourself and others who got up and gave all sides of the story. And that includes the anti and pro. And that's where freedom ended up residing. And in spite of huge efforts to censor that, I mean, like a lot of people, I lost my YouTube channel because I had a doctor on my program, very respected, internationally known doctor, who suggested that pregnant women and children should not get the COVID vaccine. For that, I lost my station. Okay. I mean, I'm not alone here. I'm not, that's how it is. For various reasons, we can speculate that is a hot button for YouTube, and they don't allow any comment on that, on the vaccine. And obviously, they took President Trump's Twitter account away. where he lost, I think, upwards of 50 million followers. So they really did try to crack down on the internet, but it failed
Mhm.
because of people found other ways to do it. In my case, I reestablished the program on Rumble,
Mhm.
and like you have a great Rumble station, by the way, Amber.
Thank you.
And I then found all these other stations as well, Rockfin. I mean, there's a bunch of them out there.
Mhm.
So I was able to continue on, not at the same level as YouTube, but still enough that I could still do what I do and have a level of influence.
You hit the nail on the head. Everything you just said was right on. They did the same thing to me with YouTube. I started gaining followers like crazy. Started talking to them about the Maricopa County election.
Oh boy.
And then I started talking about COVID on top of it. Oh, they didn't like that. They shut me down right away.
Yeah, yeah. And the Maricopa County was another hot button.
Yes, it was.
Could not talk about the forensic audit. You couldn't
Mhm.
talk about, Kerry Lake, right? I mean, all that stuff
Right.
was censored like crazy, but it didn't work there either. Well, it did work against Kerry Lake, okay, but it didn't in the bigger picture work because President Trump came back, and now maybe Maricopa County might finally be investigated. Maybe they'll get to the
That's
bottom
what
of
they're
that.
saying. I'm part of the Maricopa County Republicans here in Arizona, and our county board of supervisors said that that is one of the things they are planning on doing is doing a deep dive on our election system. Our
Mhm.
state legislators are very much in favor of that. And of course, our Arizona GOP chair is also in favor. So I see good things happening as far as the election front goes.
Well, that would be amazing. I hope that you get the Department of Justice under Pam Bondi involved.
Wouldn't that be great?
Oh my God! I mean, to have really it's a national scandal, and the whole world saw it.
Oh,
I have
yeah.
now that we're on that topic, I have a quick question about
Sure.
that. Besides the 2022 election, when the machines didn't work in the Republican precincts, and the paper that they used had been created by a very partisan printer, and that it didn't fit in the machines. I noticed that about a year ago, when there was a special election in Maricopa County, not to get into a controversy, but why not? Um, there was a national incident, some kind of a readjustment of Google, where different computers were having problems for about a day, including, like, I think at airports in some cases.
There was a
I
cyber attack.
It was because I happened to be in New York that day, and we
Mhm.
were staying at a hotel, and our hotel couldn't get their computer functioning, and they couldn't open doors, so they had to do it manually. And it was something that happened all over the United States.
Mhm.
But I seem to recall that Maricopa County, coincidentally, was having a special election that day, and
Yeah.
they had to shut down all of the electronic computers.
For a time they did, yeah. They were eventually able to get him back up going again, but yeah, it did affect some of the machines on the election. So yeah, that was a thing.
Well, what that tells me, I mean, not to state the obvious, is that those machines were online. Otherwise, why would they have been affected?
That's what I've been saying for a long time. I want them to do a real deep dive. I want they say the machines are not connected to the internet. I went to McTech, which is where they supposed to tabulate the votes. McTech staff is telling me they're not connected to the internet. I honestly believe that they think that is true.
Mhm.
I don't think they are
How could they not
lying
be?
to my face. I think they genuinely believe that to be true.
Well, how do
However,
they explain this
I
then?
don't believe that to be true. So,
Well, I mean, how do you explain it? I mean, if they weren't online, why were they affected by this bug? Of course they
yeah.
were online. They had to have been. I mean, it's obvious. And of course, people like myself, when you mentioned this in the 2000 election, you were like demonized.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
you almost seem as a subhuman for even suggesting it. But it turned out to be true. Anyway, let's go on to talking about podcasting, because you actually are teaching people how to podcast, which is a great thing. You offer your services online in that regard. You have a website called Podcast Like a Pro. It's part of your Amber May Show website where you
Mhm.
can hear your podcast. So let's talk about that. I mean, what is some basic um, information that we can share with my audience about how to do a podcast now?
I'm so glad you asked. And if anyone wants to join, they could go to theambermayshow.com. And then there's a tab that says podcast like a pro. If they use your name, Charles, they're going to get a discount at checkout.
Right.
So make sure you use the discount code Charles so you guys can save some money there, because I don't want anyone having to pay full price. If you want to, you're welcome to, but I'd love for you to get a discount. I get asked all the time. Like you, I have a radio background. After I graduated college, I got to work at an AM talk radio show
Mm,
station. And so I have professional experience. I've done this for a living. The reason why I quit my radio gig was because I finally had a child after 8 years of trying.
mhm,
So on my way to work one day, I'm crying. I'm crying so hard because all I've ever wanted to do is be a broadcaster. I
mm,
got this great job that I just absolutely love, but now I'm about to have a child.
yeah.
And the idea of putting her in daycare after I've been waiting for 8 years to have a baby was awful.
Right.
So I quit my job, and I went 9 years without broadcasting. And then I restarted my show again.
Mhm,
So, long story short, I get asked all the time, just a little background for your audience. I get asked all the time, how do I do this? And how do I do that? And how do I start this? And so, what I decided to do is I wanted to help everybody that I possibly could. So, I took my knowledge in the most frequently asked questions and I put it in a course. And you covered a little bit of that. I'm going to show you how you can do a podcast that's not going to cost you an arm and a leg. I'm going to show you the equipment necessary to do it. And if you have more means, then great. Upgrade your equipment. Great. Fantastic. I applaud you. But if things are a little tight, but you still have a message or you still have a passion that you want to get out there, maybe you love classic cars, or maybe you're into remodeling and you want to kind of just show people how to remodel a home, then you could do that. And I could show you how, and I could show you how to build an audience. So I went from a built-in audience at a radio station, going 9 years, not having any audience whatsoever, and having to build it from scratch. So I'm going to give you tips and tricks on how to do that. The really cool thing about my course is I have a exclusive community that everyone who takes my course gets to be a part of. And then
mm,
you'll have access to me and other content creators. And my idea is I want to make it to where it's a community where we network together, where we share ideas, where we promote one another on each other's shows. So I'm
mhm.
just trying to build a community of podcasters because we are the new media. Elon Musk says it all the time. The media is freaking out about us. They're saying, oh, they're not the media and they're throwing tantrums on TV. But you said it perfectly, Charles. Because of what we've been doing in the alternate space, it really made a difference in this last election because you were right. They censored RFK. They
Mm,
prevented him from running. They wouldn't interview him very much. And they really, really censored Donald Trump and
mm,
always put him in a bad light. But Kamala Harris is in the great light. And if you remember when we were during the campaign, CBS did a piece on Kamala Harris, and they edited a whole bunch of that content out to 20 minutes. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but the Daily Mail is reporting that Donald Trump sued, and it looks like he's winning the case, that CBS is going to have to release the full 60 minutes of the interview that they filmed with
well,
Kamala
let me
Harris.
just add a little to that. It's even worse than that. What they did was I forget who the reporter was who interviewed her, but he or she asked a question and she gave some a crazy, the usual kind of weird answer that didn't make a lot of sense. What they did was they spliced that out and they put in another segment that she had answered something else, and they kind of diced and sliced that one to make it sound a
Mhm,
certain way, so that it looked like she had given an intelligent and coherent answer. Now, Donald Trump's lawsuit on that is basically that constitutes election interference, which it does. I mean,
mhm.
that's like altering reality. I mean, you can't, create something out of nothing, which is what they tried to do. Which came off badly anyway. But the point is that it's not, it was a classic example, not only of what Trump's up against, but what the kind of the old legacy, the mockingbird media, as we like to say, what
Mhm,
they're up to, what they've been probably doing forever. I mean, they kind
mhm,
of, mold a story. I mean, the classic example is when John F. Kennedy was assassinated.
Mhm.
I think it was Walter Cronkite got up on the air, and he says that it was just a one lone crazy gunman. Where did he get that information? How did he know? He was told by handlers that this is what to say. And when he said it back then, you only had three sources of news, and that's what the official line became. And then anyone who questioned that was attacked.
Mhm.
So they can't do that now. You know,
Remember Nancy Pelosi, she talked about how the smear goes, that you put something in the media and then someone officially will say it and then they're going to cover it up with another attack or a smear. I mean, she laid it out perfectly of how they do it in mainstream media where it's all made up, it's all fabricated. And people are finally done with being lied to, and that's why this time right now is the best time to get into this space.
oh
That's
yeah.
why if you go to the ambermayshow.com and hit the tab podcast like a pro, remember use promo code Charles at checkout. I'm gonna show you how you could do what we're doing. And you don't even have to do news and commentary. Whatever your passion is, I want to show you how to do that because I think the world of programming in general, TV in general, is going to change with. I think people are going to want to watch real people doing stuff. And to them, that will be entertaining, whether that's homesteading, whether that's fixing cars, whether that's. I think the way it's going to change, I think you and I, I could be wrong. It's possible, but I think things are going to change a little bit outside of Hollywood and we're to see more of a change onto just regular content creators as being the foremost place people go to get entertained.
Oh yeah. I mean, also, I mean, speaking of Hollywood, I mean, this last election showed that they don't have very much coattails anymore because Harris was shelling out millions of dollars to people to not only endorse her but to go on stage so she could generate some kind of audience, and it didn't matter. It was worth nothing to her.
Yeah.
It's like it was then Beyonce. I mean, all of them. They didn't amount to a hill of beans, to be polite.
Hmm.
And so that those the days of their influence have been exposed, and that yeah, people are looking to TikTok. They're looking to the YouTube Reels. They're looking to all of these things for entertainment and for information. I think particularly the younger generation. So this is something that I think is certainly the future. It's not going to be stopped. Even with YouTube, maybe that might be changed now that President Trump's in office. I mean, I actually sent YouTube a note saying, now that President Trump's in office and Biden is gone, maybe, you might be able to restore my station because it doesn't matter what people think about the 2020 election. It's over. He's gone. No one's threatening his position anymore. We'll see. But so going back to your podcast, um, can you talk a little bit about some of the nuts and bolts of how you do this? How do you create your podcast technically? And also, what kind of a schedule do you maintain? I mean, what do you actually do?
I think okay, so the learning is self-paced. So the classes are self-paced. It's not going to take you all day to do any of the courses. I know we're all working people, we're all busy people. So I put things down in a time fashion, come back to it tomorrow, come back to it in a week, come back to whatever you want to. It's self-paced. Uh, I talk about all the fundamentals that you're going to need to know. You're going to
Mm.
need to know, like Charles said earlier about equipment. You're going to need to know where to publish your episode because, like Charles said, him and I have been canceled in a lot of platforms, but we found some platforms that are very much free speech oriented, and I share that with you. I tell you, I show you how you can monetize. I give you ideas to monetize, and any of my students can be an affiliate of mine because if you're going to come to my class, I want to believe in you and invest in you. So if you decide to be an affiliate with me, wonderful. I'd love to have that partnership. So we talk about monetization. We talk about how to get guests. Where do you find guests? So that's an important topic. People want to know, well, okay, I'm going to have a show, and I want to interview people, but where do I find them? So we're going to talk about things like that. So all the fundamentals that you need so you launch successfully. And just know this, Your first episode is going to be the worst episode, and that's coming from me, a professional, someone who's been in radio. My episodes back then were
Right.
not as good as they are now. Why? Just because with years of experience, you just get better and better as you go. And with the perfectionists out there, I want to tell you, don't wait till everything's going to be perfect to go. Start now, because perfection comes as you continue doing your craft, as you start getting more ideas about what kind of things, elements you want to add to your program. So don't be caught up with everything has to be so perfect right now. Actually, in this space, people love imperfection. I'm not saying have a sloppy show. By no means. I want you to have a great, well produced show. But I'm just saying, if something goes awry and something's not perfect, your audience will be fine with it.
It's a different format. It's not
Yes.
as quite that like you have to be perfect when you do this thing. It's more conversational. It's more off the cuff. Be yourself.
Mhm.
In my case, I'm trying to put together at this point. I mean, I kind of got out of it for a while for a lot of reasons, but now I'm getting back in, and I'm trying to put together consistency of doing the program Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as a way to sort of build up perhaps a participatory audience. And I offer a phone number so that people can literally call into my program. I offer, obviously chat and all of that stuff. The program goes live on both my Facebook and my Twitter page. I got about 8,000 something followers on Twitter. And that opened up a little bit when Elon Musk took
Oh
over
yeah,
Twitter.
for me too. Yep.
My page was frozen for years.
Mine too. I
And
couldn't
although
grow.
now it's sort of gone back to slightly frozen, I don't know. Musk is great, but not, there's still, some hanky panky. Either way, I go live there. And now that I'm going to be doing this thing daily, weekdays live, and then I download it into a podcast platform. We could talk about that. But I'm hoping to get a real live experience with people who tune in regularly and who join me. And we can just have a great time talking about issues, having a few jokes, maybe kicking around a few ideas, doing whatever it is that we feel like getting into on a given night. That's my goal. That's my goal for this whole thing. Now,
Charles, that's important what you just talked about, and that's something I do mention in the program. I don't want to give too much away in the course, but consistency is key, and I do stress that in my show, in the course. I mean, if
mhm,
you want an audience, they need to know what time you're going to be on and where you're going to be, and just show up consistently. And if I mean, and I'm not telling anyone don't do anything you can't physically do. If you can't be like Charles, that's okay. You don't have to be like Charles. If
right.
one day a week is all you can do that one day a week and do it well. Whatever you can do, make sure you're just consistent. Don't go for one day and then not go for 3 weeks, and then come for 2 days and not go for 7 days. All I'm saying is, if you want to grow successfully, you got to be consistent.
Indeed. And by the way, it's still not old fashioned, radio with a stick in the ground. I mean, I'm going to have nights where I can't make it, in which case I
Right.
can run a rerun. And I
Or you
use,
tell your audience ahead of time, "Hey, I'm gonna be taking a break." I've done that, when it was Christmas break, I'm like, "Guys, I'm gonna be off for a couple weeks, so we'll see you in January." It's okay as long as you tell them, but if you just don't show up, that's like a problem.
no, 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 exactly. Now, one of the things I've discovered, besides once I do the program, I'm giving away everything. I don't mind. But once I do the program live, like I'm doing right now, I then download the MP4 file into the Podomatic, which is
Mhm.
the only thing I mean, I pay a little bit for that, and I also pay a little bit for Restream. It's not expensive. It's a once a year payment. And that Podomatic puts the audio up on Apple. It puts it up on Spotify, iHeart, all these different sites.
Mhm.
And then through the Restream, I'm able to put together a playlist of the past maybe 7 or 8, 10 podcasts, and that runs live. Oh, it runs as a repeat on all of my social network, including my own website. So technically I could be on 24 hours a day.
That's awesome.
yeah, with just so it's amazing. I mean, and I'm not savvy when it comes to tech. I really am not. I've never. Maybe if I had been earlier, I might have gotten further, but I never really learned it. But even me, as a kind of an old guy, have figured out a few tricks about how to do these special things. So, Amber, I want to ask you again, without giving away too much, how do you promote your podcast?
Networking is important. So I'm going to show you how to network. And one tip I will give you
Yep.
is make a list of 100 people you want to be on, and then make a list of 100 guests you want to have. And don't limit yourself. Even if, like, let's say you're in the tech world and there's this mega guy or this mega woman that everyone in the tech world knows and you want that person on your show, reach out. Because if you never reach out, it's an automatic no. If you reach out, there's a 50-50 chance they're going to say yes and come on your show.
Oh yeah.
So,
People love to go
that's
on
one of the keys, is like making a list of anyone and everyone you would want on your show, and then make a list of the people you want on your show, or on the shows you want to be on, and then you just start reaching out and start networking. That's one of the tips that I'll give you on this
No,
episode.
people like to go on podcasts. They want,
Yes.
especially if they have a book out.
Yes.
You go on. I mean, I'm the author of a whole ton of books, but you go on Amazon and you could look at books you're interested in that are just coming out. They want to get on shows. They're trying to
Mhm.
promote their book. They could, and not only that, but if they come on with you, they then can promote you by promoting their appearance on your
That's
show,
right.
and they can post that on their social network, and their
Mhm.
social network might be huge. I mean, it could be like, you know, there's 100,000 people that are going to see it. And one of the little tricks, I haven't figured out how to do it yet, but Restream, which is what we're on now, I could have given you a link, or not the one I gave you, but some other link,
Mhm.
and you could have run this interview live on your social network.
That's very cool.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's some real stuff that's happening that you can do that's amazing.
Mhm.
How do you make money?
Advertisers,
But that's hard. I mean, I haven't figured that out. I mean,
then come to my course.
I'm going. You'll see me there. But, no, that's a tough one. And I mean, I make a little bit of money mainly because I'm an author and I promote my books and I get royalties when somebody buys a book. And I also use the books. And by the way, writing a book now is a lot easier than ever. If you're passionate about something, there's no better way to learn about it and to go deep than to write a book.
Oh,
And
wow.
you can do it. You don't need a publisher anymore because everything's online. I mean, like you and I both, you graduated from Arizona State. I'm going to Arizona State. They have an archive, they have a library link that you can get source material on just about any subject under the sun through their library.
Wow.
You can use that information, footnote that information as part of your book. So if you're passionate about something and you really want to delve into it, doesn't matter what it is. You could be a mountain climber, you could be anything, a surfer, or you could be interested in a political issue, a history. You can write a short book on it and get it published on Amazon. They do a great job. It's free. You can get a nice cover. You could put together your manuscript, maybe hire somebody for a few bucks off of Fiverr to do editing. I have a guy who's a Canadian high school teacher who does edits on my books. Cost me about $100. Gee, I'm giving away all my secrets. I don't mind. Then I download the manuscript. I download the cover, which I also get a guy from Fiverr to create for me. And you can not only get royalties for every sale, but it's a vehicle to get yourself booked on other shows,
Correct.
right? I mean,
Yep.
you're good at this, Amber. You get yourself, you're booked here. I mean, you,
Are you doing digital books or do you do paperback books?
all of it, all of
Okay.
it. Ebook,
So I
Amazon,
didn't
and
know Amazon does like paperback books,
they do.
publishes.
It's all
Okay.
free. Electronic book, paperback, hardcover, even the voice book, the voice what do they call that?
Audiobooks.
Audiobooks. I have audiobooks now.
Uh-oh. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now, Amber?
Yes, yes.
I don't know what the heck is going on. Anyways, maybe they're trying to sabotage me. I don't know. I'm just kidding. Anyways, but that's the deal with writing books. It's a wonderful thing to do. You should write a book. I would say you have at least a couple of books in you. I'm sure, and you get yourself booked on shows. You could write a press release on a topic that has to do with your book. And I can't tell you, I've been interviewed by people all over the place. So
That's awesome.
yeah, so it's great fun. These are all interesting media things that anybody like a poor schlub like me sitting at my table here can do. You don't have to be, you know, going to a highfalutin office to do this stuff. Anybody can do it. As I said, it's very democratic in that way. It's the voice of the people. So, Amber, you do a great job of promoting your program and helping people, which is a great, great endeavor. Let my listeners and viewers know again how they can reach you and how they can get involved in your course and a little bit more about your course.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate you. The best place to go to find me is theambermayshow.com. There you're going to find all the places where my program airs, but most importantly, my podcast like a pro course is right there. So you go to the Amber May Show, theambermayshow.com, hit podcast like a pro, and then remember to use Charles at checkout. And I go through some of the things that are going to make you successful because I did this from scratch. Remember, 9 years of not broadcasting, so I did it from scratch, and I wanted you just to get kind of a head start to what I didn't have to do. So, like all the things that I kind of messed up on, you can avoid all those things. I'm going to show you how to launch successfully. So that's really exciting, and I'm excited to help in this space that we're in because things are shifting, and I believe that we need to hold the government accountable to the people, but I also believe in really good content. So some of the stuff coming out of Hollywood is just garbage. And so I want to teach people if you really have something you're passionate about, remember, I mean, you can do it now. You don't have to have this big Hollywood production studio. And I could show you how to do that with podcasts like a pro at theambermayshow.com. So I'm on Rumble, I'm on Podbean, I'm on a lot of other places. So if you go to my website, you're going to click on the button and you can find where I broadcast from.
Excellent. And I just want to wrap it up by going back to the original press release that caught my attention. Has the media been fair in the first 2 weeks of Trump's return to the White House? What say you?
I say no. If you look at what the other side says, like just in social media circles, they're so overcharged. Like they're so upset. They think their world is collapsing because they're only getting half a truth. So they are not being fair. The media is not being fair to Donald Trump. I mean, the US aid should be a big red flag for everybody because, it just came out actually. Yournews.com reported on that the federal records reveal Politico and the New York Times received millions in taxpayer
Yeah.
funding
Oh,
from
yeah,
the Biden
right, and some of the
administration.
stuff, and they lie about it too. They say, "Oh, it's gonna end humanitarian aid." That's
That's
nonsense.
that's right.
The little bit of humanitarian aid that they handle, which is probably like 10%, that's not gonna end. I heard, Secretary Rubio talk about that. He said, "It's gonna continue to be run by either by the State Department directly or by some reconstructed US aid." The problem is that the majority of their money goes to very bad things
Mhm.
all around the world. I mean, overthrowing government, left-wing causes. You want to support left-wing causes? Write a check. It's not something that should be done by taxpayer money.
Right.
They even are involved, and maybe I'm going to get in trouble for saying this, but it's out there, in funding the Wuhan lab, which
Mhm.
created COVID. Okay,
Correct,
enough
correct.
said. I mean, it's not pro-America.
Right.
It's not in the interests of anyone, regardless of your political affiliation. So they're going
So,
to
no,
lie about
they have not been fair. When you look at how they interview Donald Trump, it's very attack oriented, very attack. And when he gives the correct answer, they want to lie about it because they don't want to look like they're lying. So they try to fact check what the president or vice president says, and they do it in a very attackful manner. And so it gives the perception to their viewers that our president is trying to lie to them when in fact he's trying to reveal that the media is trying to lie with all these half truths. And that's even if they're doing a half truth, right?
Oh, yeah,
So
these
it's-
things, they're complete lies, but you know something? It's not working for them. Trump knows what he's doing now. He's going right into it. JD Vance is tremendous. I'm glad he picked him. He's
Mhm.
handles people very well in the media. Pam Bondi, Pete Hegseth, these are experienced media people. They know how to do it. They know how to handle this kind of stuff. And I mean, those hearings, I mean, they sounded like a bunch of harpies the way they were.
Oh, the hearings were a joke. They
But
didn't give the people that were supposedly being uh, questioned any chance to speak. All they were doing was, where's the statesman in all of this?
it was
They
so
hold a political office. You should be a statesman. I'm not saying you have to like Mark Rubio. You have
right.
to like Ash Patel. You have to like Pete Hegseth. You don't have to like him. You don't have to like his policies, but you could be there in a respectable manner and not just say all these accusations and never give the person a chance to respond. That
Or
was
talk
such a
about
gross way of doing things that I'm tired of it. I need it to change. It's been going on for decades.
yeah.
It needs to stop. Be statesmen. You guys are representing your state. Act like it. That's what I got to say.
It would be nice if they actually talked about a couple of substantive issues rather than
Right.
just pure, mudslinging. And
That's
you
all
know,
it is.
people are really sick and tired of it, and it didn't work for them this time. It just they came across very poorly, and they couldn't stop it. So I feel like maybe I'm maybe pipe dream, but I do think that President Trump nailed it when he said that we're entering into a golden age, and that I think it's going to be in that position. We'll be in that position for a generation, possibly. People are just it's a whole different paradigm, a whole different way of doing things, and I'm excited. You know, I'm sure you seem to be too. So,
Oh, I'm very excited.
oh yeah. So Amber, again, let my listeners know your websites, and I urge you to check this out. I will be doing so. Amber, please talk about that.
Charles, I had so much fun being on your show. I think we're very like-minded. I like the way you think and the questions you asked. And so your audience is blessed to be tuning in every day to your program. The way you find me is going to theambermayshow.com. There you're going to find all the places where I broadcast my show, The Amber May Show, if you didn't get it from the website. or
Okay.
and while you're there, please head over to Podcast Like a Pro. If you've had a small inkling, if you're a pastor in the faith realm, or
Mhm.
if you're in the DIY realm, or if you're in the news realm, go over to Podcast Like a Pro. And I'm going to show you how you can do what me and Charles are doing and do it successfully. And again, use promo code Charles at checkout to save some money.
All right. Thanks so much, Amber. I really appreciate you joining me. Let's stay in touch, and God bless.
God bless.